So welcome everybody to the podcast. I am very excited today to have JoJo Thompson here with me. He has personally helped me on part of my journey so far and will continue to, I hope. So Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Thank
Tell us a little bit
you.
about you.
So thanks for having me. And as you know, I'm so passionate about supporting people on their health journey. That's been a lifetime of work. So I've been a registered nurse for 42 years. Oh my God. And a naturopath for 20 years. So to be able to like do the testing and really get to the bottom of people's issues really quickly is a lifetime's work of what I've trained and what I've learned. I've spent a fortune on this brain, and I just have that succinct ability to be able to go to the why. Why are you unwell? What's happening? And so part of finding that why is the testing, the DNA testing, GI map, so stool testing, breath testing, all sorts of testing, so functional testing. And so my, ability then to get to the crux of the problem, we can get there really quickly now, and then put a great treatment plan in place, which is what you found as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's been such a phenomenal experience for me, which we can go into. But yeah, wow, 42 years in nursing and then into naturopathy. That's incredible. So tell us a bit about that, like your journey experiences, what you've
Okay.
witnessed.
So I suppose for me, I grew up in a home that was very natural anyway. We grew our own veggies. My mum was very much into that. Everything we used in that home was chemical free, and look, there wasn't the toxins and the crap that there are now anyway. I am turning 60 in December, so it was a different sort of way we were brought up, and a different, things were a lot cleaner. So I was always had that caring nature and wanted to help people. And I didn't know about naturopaths when I was growing up, or if anyone did yoga, they were some hippie weirdo, and it just wasn't the thing. So you either became a teacher or a nurse or a secretary. It was pretty much what you did, or go and work in calls or whatever. So I always had that desire to learn and to heal. And obviously for me, I was being lucky to be given a gift of intuitive healing and stuff like that as well, like a medical intuitive. So which I didn't develop till later on. So I went off and did nursing. And I chose that because it was a career that I could get paid. Like in those days, you got trained at the hospital. I could get paid. I won't get into my stuff too much, but I grew up in a pretty toxic, horrible home. And so it was an exit out of there as well. And so I got into nursing and I loved it. I made some great friends. I made a great lifestyle. I always knew I was going to do my nursing, get married, and do a bit of traveling, and it just went bam, bam, bam. So by 23, I was married, and 24, I had my first child. And wasn't that bloody, that was eye-opener, wasn't it? And we lived on the Central Coast, so we had no support, no family. And because at the time interest rates were 18%, I had to get back to work. So I started working 2 days a week when my girls were both 10, 11 weeks old. And that was really frowned upon. Like, here are these times now where women who stay at home are frowned upon. And so my friends were like, you can't go to work, you've got a baby. Even my family were like, how can you go to work, you've got a baby? So you can see in the time how the times have evolved and changed, where women who stay home feel terribly guilty, whereas I felt guilty going to work. Anyway, so my journey kept going and did my nursing, and then I ended up in community nursing. But there was always that little voice in the back of my head going, I did community nursing, and you drive up to the house and it was the crappiest house in the street, and they smoked and they drank and they just wanted you to fix it all, and they didn't want to make those lifestyle changes because it was a free service. And so I just started saying, you know what, I don't want to work with these sort of people anymore. I want to work with people who want to change their well-being and their health. I can't remember how. I don't remember where it started that, I went, okay, now it's the time to do my naturopathy. Part of it was I did separate from my husband and was raising 2 children on my own, working full time, and then started studying naturopathy, and it just was perfect. It was just beautiful. I loved it. It took me 5 or 6, 7 years to get my naturopathic degree because I had to do it part-time, plus it cost a fortune. So I did that. And then in 2005, 2006, I think, the New South Wales health system was just throwing money anywhere and everywhere, and it just was going down the gurgler. And I finished my degree, and so I started my business as a massage therapist while I was still finishing my training. So it was really amazing to be doing energy body work as well as helping them to heal. So, so I started in 2003, just ticking away, getting the business running. Until 2005, I left nursing and jumped fully into being a naturopath.
Wow.
I predominantly.
How did you manage all that as a parent and like a solo parent, and then doing it? That's incredible. It's just.
Oh, thank you. They call me Hyper Harry, but I have Melly. Got used to my voice, and it's obviously that's all energy. And there was heaps that went on in there. I won't get into it, but I did have a health crisis myself in that time. Right. And that really then took me on the cancer journey and the cancer work that I've been doing over the years.
Oh wow! So you've actually experienced having cancer in that period. Yep. Oh my goodness.
Yep. So there wasn't much, to go to naturally. Not like there is today, and the testing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I hope you had plenty of support throughout that time.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Go into that. But it was a tough few years. No, that's okay. It's just I know you want to get onto other stuff, so you could do a whole other podcast on that and that journey. That's amazing, amazing, amazing journey that I had then with the cancer.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, raising 2 kids on my own, working and trying to get well. It was like I said, I'm a determined little shit. I wasn't going anywhere. So
I'm going to beat this. You ain't going to beat me.
Yeah, I ain't checking out. I've got 2 kids to raise, so that's what pushed me. That's what kept me going. So for me now, when people come in and I work with them, and they're like, "Oh, that's too hard. That's too this. That's too that." I'll go, "I have tried everything. I have done everything I suggest for you. I have done the juice fast and the coffee enemas and the whatever needs doing. I've done it." Yep. So. And every now and then with some people I will pull out my story to give them just some hope and just, to let them know that you can do it. You can turn your life. Any health crisis can be turned around with the right tools.
Yep. With the right tools, yeah. And sometimes it takes a handful of things, doesn't it? Like a real holistic approach. And wow. So when you were studying your naturopathy, you were kind of healing yourself as well throughout that. Wow.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow, so that's incredible.
Yeah, it is a good story. So
you're a warrior.
Yes, and I am a warrior, and I know now, and it took me till my 50s to actually be self-confident enough to even say that. And to to embrace the journey and the story that I had and be comfortable with it and go, oh my God, I've been a pioneer. And it was my daughter said that to me the other day. She said, Mum, you've been a pioneer in the work that you've done. And we have, like in doing IV nutrients, IV, opening up the first IV clinic on the Central Coast, really pushing the boundaries, really pushing the medical world, really pushing the TGA, and running a successful, amazing clinic, like in the last 8 years, just before I sold it. We changed lives like you wouldn't believe. It was amazing. I still get goosebumps. I still get teary.
My God.
The lives we changed. And, in saying that, it wasn't like that. There was the natural part, but we did work with the medical world. It wasn't like, no, you can't have chemo. No, you can't have radiation. No, you can't do that. It's like, you did what we had to do and we would support that. And in the end, there were doctors that 8 years ago that I wrote to or rang to who wouldn't even take my call or whatever, who the last 4 years were referring into us and going, wow, amazing what your work has done.
Wow. I just love that. I love what you were doing. Like, I'm a huge advocate for what you were doing. It's just, and like you say, women walk away from the Western medical world and just feel unheard, like left untreated, I think just have no idea what to do next, and they just feel helpless and like, what do I do? What do I do now? And there is that such disconnect, like you say. I don't know if it's getting any better. You'd be able to tell me that, but like that disconnect between what you guys are doing in the medical world. Like, why aren't we referring out to be like, look, okay, this isn't working. Try something else. Like, don't just
Because
let them walk out.
the doctors only know what they know, and there's not many that take
Mm,
the blinkers off. And it's
mm,
like when we were doing the IV vitamin C, and you go, how can the public be coming in demanding and asking it, and their doctors going, you're wasting your money, you're wasting your time, you're just making that woman rich, blah 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 blah. And you go, how does the public not know this and the doctors don't? Like,
mm-hmm,
have
mm-hmm.
they? And I'm not putting them down, I'm not going to doctor bash, but have they got their head in the sand? And it's not even just IV vitamin C. It's all, they're finally on board with probiotics, but God forbid that took how long?
Long time.
Um, so many, many people come into me and they'll give me their bloods and they'll go, the doctor said, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me, but I know there's something wrong with me. I know I'm not right. I don't have the energy, or
Mm-hmm,
I'm bloated, or I'm tired, or I'm miserable,
mm-hmm.
I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm fat, I can't lose weight, whatever it is. And you know what? The answer is always in those bloods, but they don't know. They just look for the highs and the lows and nothing in
Mm.
between. They don't match the kidneys with the heart, or oh, you've got a skin issue. Well, that's got nothing to do with anything else. We just treat the skin. So,
Uh,
they don't look for the cause like we do. So it's really, really sad. And people are turning more and more away from the medical world because they,
yeah,
like you said, they are being left untreated, left with the symptoms, have this drug, heaps of side effects, and it doesn't fix it.
totally.
It just puts a
And
band-aid on it.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And that kind of leads into my next question. Like, and obviously I'm one of those people, and thank God I found you, but like when they're looking at blood, so they're not always accurate, or like what else should we be doing or like looking for in
The bloods are, to me, they're my crystal ball. And I've done a master's and training in reading bloods from a functional point of view. So,
Mhm,
I don't know, how can I give you an example? So we work at with, you look at the immune system, your white cell count, your neutrophils and your lymphocytes, and you go, oh my
mhm,
gosh, look how low they are. But the doctor goes, oh, they're a bit low. Okay, that's okay. And we go, well, why are they low?
mm,
Why is your
mm,
neutrophils and lymphocytes low? Is it you're not eating enough protein? Are you not absorbing that protein? And then you go looking for other numbers in your blood report to
mm.
actually support that theory or evidence or whatever. So the doctors
Yep.
just see the highs and the lows and then go, okay, you're fine, off you go. But we look and we do ratios, and we read ferritin. So ferritin's a marker of iron storage, and we know when that's off the Richter really, really high, it's a sign for inflammation in the body. So you just go, why is this body so
Mm,
inflamed? And the doctor will read ferritin only, instead of looking at your transferrin, your actual iron, your transferrin, and your saturation. And they're more important than your actual ferritin.
mm.
So
Yep.
that's where our training and knowledge comes in. And they're very guided by Medicare and the TGA and how many tests they can do as well. So most people
Yeah.
don't know that a doctor can only do so many vitamin D tests, or so many, let's say, take thyroid, TSH, so thyroid stimulating hormone. They'll just do the TSH and then go, no, that's fine. But you go, I have all
Mm.
the symptoms. Why am
Yep.
my hair's falling out, I've got dry skin, I'm
Yep.
constipated, I'm exhausted, I'm overweight. And
Yep.
when you finally then go and say, well, what is your T3, T4, reverse T3, and antibodies, there's your full picture.
Antibodies. Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
that's where the difference comes in, that we then do more thorough investigation, and then you
Yep.
just go, there you go.
Yep. And then you can look at the symptoms as well. Hey, so like, are these the bloods and these are the symptoms? Well, let's treat that and see how your body reacts, kind of thing. I guess
But
it's a bit
then,
experimental.
well, it is, but then you go back and go, well, why? Why is your thyroid? Why did your thyroid blow? Have you got heavy metals? Have you had viruses? Are you inflamed? How's your gut health? Is your diet okay? You just go in, are you stressed out of your brain, which is usually
Yeah.
most women's
Stress.
reason. And stress will
Yep.
blow because your stress, you've got your what we call your HPA axis. So you've got your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your adrenal glands. You have
Mm.
this negative feedback system that goes round and round and round and round and round. And we all live on adrenaline. You walk out the door just to buy a coffee these days, and it's like still those COVID things are in there. Oh, do I stand in line? Did I stay too close? Can I go in there later? And in your mind
Yes.
is this
Mm.
stress just going to buy a coffee.
Yep.
And then there's other stresses, trying to get the kids out the door. Oh God, have I got petrol in the car? Where have I got to be today? Like, just getting out of the house is stressful. So our adrenaline goes up and up and up and up and up. And we stay with that like that in fight or flight. And eventually the body goes, my adrenals are burnt out, blah, blah, blah. How do we know that? We can look at your bloods and look at your sodium, go, oh, that's really low. We know your adrenals aren't functioning so well. The adrenals go, bam, I'm done. So then the body goes, where else can I go? Then it blows the thyroid. Then it'll go next and it'll use the thyroid. So it's like, we burnt that wheel out. I've got to get my energy and my juice from somewhere. So then the thyroid will blow. And then I could go down then there's, the nutrients aren't in the soil and our food and, it just goes blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And your generation is the impact of the last 50, 60 years, really, because the nutrients aren't there. It's not in the food. It's the choices are walk in, get your processed food. It's easy, it's quick, it's cheap, So you guys have got it really hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's tough. Oh my goodness. But yeah, going back to the stress thing. So this is incredibly important that we are feeding our body well, getting enough sleep, drinking plenty of water, hydrating ourselves, but focusing on trying to get some stress relief, whether it's breathing, journaling, meditating, all that kind of stuff. It's incredibly important, hey, because this is going to make us really sick.
When I used to go and do talks, so I treated breast cancer for years and years and years. I was a lymphedema therapist as well. And I would go and do talks at courses or programs. And I would get up and say, right, put your hand up if in the last 12 to 18 months before your diagnosis, you had a significant stressful event in your life. Every hand went up. Every single hand went up. And we know the research is there to show you that stress. It's like my girlfriend I'm going to go and visit, It's stress. She's a stress head. And I know processed food and other lifestyle factors have come into it, but the biggest impact is stress. Cancer, only 5% of cancer is genetic. 5%. What? That is it. The rest is what we call epigenetic. So that's your environment, your lifestyle, the toxins, what your environment is doing to your genes. As you know, we did your DNA testing. That's your DNA. They're your genes, right? They don't change.
Yeah.
What changes is whether they turn on or off. What turns them on or off? Your environment, your stress, what food you're putting in your body. Are you dehydrated? Are you exposed to toxins and chemicals and glyphosate and 5G and blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So these are and people go, today stress is seen as bad. You're not coping, you're not resilient. It's like a naughty word. There's something, I'm not saying it right, but it's like a weakness if you say you're stressed, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So to get many of my clients to admit they're stressed takes so much work because they don't want to admit they're stressed because they don't think they're stressed because they think they're coping. But
absolutely.
Like I said to you, just walking out the door, before you even walk out the door, the alarm's gone off. Bing! What do? You don't just wake up and get out of bed, do you? It's like, bing, up you go, or the kids are screaming or whatever it is.
Yep. And parent life, like I think being a mum these days is just there is such expectations on us to be able to do everything. And it's like, I'm just like stressed to the hill, man.
Yeah.
Can't do anymore.
Those women on Instagram, look what they were doing. Oh my God, they got their shit together. And you're like, then you scrape and you look in and you go, no, they haven't. So,
man, it's just like, the highlight reels, it's like, well, that's what's really going on behind closed doors. Like, tell me the truth.
Yeah. And I used to be like that. Like I remember, and I suppose I'm going to get what I do say, but I remember when my kids were young and I'd go to mother's group and they'll go, oh, my baby slept all night and my baby this and my baby that. And I said, oh, no, mine didn't. She screamed all bloody night. She spewed everywhere and blah, 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 blah. And they go, oh, mine slept all night, but I did a dream feed at 2 a.m. And I go, well,
what the fuck? Yeah, I'd be like, I call bullshit.
Just like, and what? You've never wanted to like get your kid and just go, shut the hell up. Like,
mate, the amount of times I wanted to shake my kids to sleep, I didn't, but the whole
and push their bloody head under the water at bath time because they're screaming and yelling. Like you think it, you'd never do it, and when you can be as honest as that, then it's a release. But these women are living in this life going, oh, my child's perfect and la la la, and I just used to go,
and it causes a disconnect. I'm like, where's the sisterhood? Come on, let's be honest with each other. Let's be vulnerable. Like, that's where you connect with people. And
Yeah.
there's such a disconnect. Like, it just
Yeah.
feels,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Let's support each other.
Yeah.
Just be real.
100%. 100%.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
But okay, so yes, we went through my DNA test, which
Yeah.
I want to go into a little bit further. I've just got a couple more questions.
Sure.
So, and we talked about the food and the soil and how, just we're probably not getting enough of what we need. So do you think supplements are really important? And there's obviously, some that you might not use and some you would
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
Do you think they're quite important for us these days?
So when I first started out as a naturopath, it was like, oh, supplements, supplements, supplements. And
Yeah.
then as I evolved and learned and trained and became confident enough, I was like, you know what? I never, ever gave a multi-B. It was just part of me. I was like, go eat some fruit. Go eat your vegetables. You do not need a synthetic multivitamin. So I think, yes, there is a need for supplementation, but not forever and ever. And people come in and they've been on whatever for years and years and years and go, why you want it? What did it do? You need, yes, we do need supplements. Everyone needs zinc. You should take out the fluoride in the water and put the zinc in, because there is no zinc in our soil, and zinc does so many things in the body, so many pathways. Anxiety, makes hydrochloric acid to digest food. It's important for skin. It's important for mood. It's important for sleep. It's one of the major nutrients for your thyroid, and on and on and on and on the list goes. So basically everyone's on zinc. And then, then there might be digestive issues. So they're the next thing I go to. So the answer to your question, do we need supplements? Yes, we do, but they need to be targeted. And that's where the testing comes in as well. So someone comes along and they want to do a gut program and take a powder or do a probiotic, but we go, well, what's going on with the gut? Is there parasites? Is there inflammation? Is there SIBO? Is the microbiome nice and healthy? So we test the person to then go, we've got targeted treatment. So therefore we're not just guessing. We're not throwing thousands of dollars of supplements that go in your cupboard that you don't finish, that you can't be bothered taking, blah, 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 and are expensive. So what I try and do with most people when they come to me are usually in crisis mode. So it's like, we do need some supplements to build you up and get you out of that hole you're in. And then we can do the testing. And so for me, as I've evolved, my biggest thing that I teach people is where you source your food from. Where is your chicken coming from that you're eating? Are you in the middle aisles in the supermarket? Are you eating organic? Are you drinking milk? Are your eggs pasture-raised, free range, or organic? So it starts coming back to where your food comes from, because that's more important. Well, maybe not more important, but just as important as what supplements you're taking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So would you say pro-organic for just about everybody if possible?
100%. 100%, because your vegetables in the supermarket are so laden with toxins, glyphosate and pesticides. And there's a thing you can go and look up. It's called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So the Dirty Dozen shows you the 12 most toxic fruits and vegetables that are in our supermarkets or markets. And the top one is strawberries. 22 chemicals and pesticides are sprayed on strawberries while they're being farmed. And I see these kids shoving these strawberries down their throat, and I'm like, oh my God. So, and blueberries, like, you look at that white powder that's on them. So there's stuff that I will not buy unless it's organic. There's my berries. And then we know now kale, spinach, basically anything where their leaves are exposed, So then you've got the Clean 15. So things like bananas or oranges or things like that, they're pretty bloody expensive to buy organic anyway. I know I'm a bit safer with that, so I will buy them where they're not organic. So I grow a lot of my greens and herbs and stuff like that. So, but definitely organic where you can. Buy when it's in season, so it's nice and cheap.
Yep. Seasonal fruit and veg.
Buy heaps so that you freeze it. Like the other day, broccoli was $4.50 for 3 or 4 heads of broccoli. So I was like, great. Bought a few packs, chopped it all up, put in Ziploc bags, and popped it in the freezer. So then you've got broccoli all year round.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Clean 15, Dirty Dozen. I'll put that in the notes as well and see.
Yeah.
And is magnesium, I've heard magnesium is one that everyone should take that we don't get enough of. Is that, how would you?
Again, we talk about what we call mineral mates. Okay, so most people know potassium and sodium work together hand in hand. So you've got to be really careful with self-medicating supplements because you can put your calcium out. Magnesium and calcium work together. Calcium is actually very calming. It's very soothing on the brain, and very, very important as well. So yes, most of my clients are probably on magnesium because they're not sleeping properly or they're tense or they're lacking energy and stuff like that. But I would go off their symptoms, would definitely go off their symptoms first. And then there's different forms of magnesium. So if you go and buy Blackmore's magnesium, whatever, I can't even remember the name of the brand, it's basically an oxide and it'll just give you the rumps. So where you get your supplements from is really important too. So I would not buy my supplements from the supermarket at all because they've got fillers and crap and all sorts of stuff, and you don't know how clean that is. But yes, magnesium, is again really, really important.
Okay, so it needs to be like the form that it comes in, and it needs to be individualized. Like you need to be, don't just self-medicate, go in and get a consult and chat to someone. Yeah.
Look, there's magnesium glycinate, biglycinate, there's citrate, there's all different forms, and the same with zinc. There's zinc piclinate, there's zinc citrate, there's all sorts of, and they do a different thing in the body. So it's not as simple as just going, oh, there's my magnesium. Obviously, if you go into a health food shop and there's a naturopath there or someone who actually knows what they're talking about, then you're going to get guided that way.
Okay. And I imagine they'd probably only recommend maybe one thing, like this is the best form. This is what I'd prefer you to buy. Yeah.
And look, I love powders and liquids more because we absorb them better. But not everyone's okay with that because they don't like the taste. So then you might go to capsules.
So the capsules, it's like a silica, like, is that bad for us or is that just like?
Well, sometimes I wonder, I've worked with people and gone, are you actually breaking down the capsule? How's your digestive ability? Are you just passing those capsules through or are they getting stuck in your bowel? Like, it'd be really interesting to know. So again, practitioner type of, or good companies, I think the capsules that they put the stuff in is going to be clean and digestible, and it's not those hard, like you look at you actually get a capsule and empty it and then feel it, and it feels like plastic.
It feels
So I use companies that are Australian mostly and that I know they've done their research and the capsules are actually okay. Or I used to get people to just open the capsule and sprinkle it in some food because then you are definitely going to get that supplement into your body. Because again, we come back to the gut. If you're not absorbing, there's more money down the drain really, because you'd be lucky if you absorb 20 or 30% of that supplement.
So there'd be some sort of, and if we're not absorbing it, then we're, I guess, looking at the gut then, aren't we? Do we need to heal the gut? Like, which I think we looked at, like even in my DNA test, it can tell whether you have, you're intolerant to something or if you can't have wheat or gluten or like those sorts of things.
100%. And most of us today, our gut says you're stressing straight away. You won't digest if you're stressed. Hands down, you can't.
Yep. No, absolutely. And then we're stress eating, like we're eating really fast. I'm like, I don't think you're breaking down that food very well. Half your digestion's starting up here.
You're supposed to do 20 or 30 chews per mouthful. God, we'd all be lucky if we did 10 or 5. So
oh my God, that's
imagine
so
how
true.
long it would take. Imagine how long it would take to eat breakfast if you had a big, bowl of granola and some fruit. It'd take you bloody 2 hours if you sat there and had 20 chews. But yeah.
Oh yeah, it would. Hey, got to get up earlier to do that.
I got to get up early to have my breakfast. Yeah.
Speaking of supplements, I was just thinking actually, like it's super hot here today and just coming into the warmer weather. If we're at like a high intense exercise and we're sweating, like there's lots of forms of hydrolyte and stuff like that. And this has always been, I think I messaged you about this the other day. It's like, is hydrolyte a good form? And then you mentioned enduro, like there's different forms. Like what's best to take like in the heat and if you're training a lot?
Probably something like Endura, so it's clean and there's not all the colours. And like when you look at Gatorade and Hydrolyte, they're all orange, greens, and all that sort of stuff. And you just straight away go, oh, okay, what's in that? So, the best thing, that's where your magnesium might come in, and you might have a magnesium powder or whatever that's actually got some sodium and potassium and things like that. So you just want your electrolytes, but you want nice, clean electrolytes, or go and eat the fruits and veggies that are going to replace it even quicker and faster.
So
Drinking
it's
water.
not, so it's not like essential as long as you're like lots of water and having the fruits and like getting it from those sources.
Yeah, and look, it might be someone, I remember a young guy I worked with years ago, and he was cramping all the time. He was working on Thursday Island and he was sweating. He was a builder and he was like cramping so bad and sweating profusely all day long. We gave him Endura, game changer. So, so it's looking at, well, am I just having a workout sweat where I can, eat a decent meal and I'm going to replace that? Or am I running a marathon or a big run or whatever that you really, training? Like if you're training and doing, 2-3 hours training stuff, you definitely need to look at some sort of, supplement that way. But, if you're going to the gym and that, you just, God forbid, have a workout, drink your water, maybe come home and have a smoothie or a protein shake and eat lots of fruits and vegetables and you should be fine.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Oh, that's good to know. Awesome. Thank you. And I wanted to touch on the antibiotics and the probiotics. I think we just talked a little bit about it before, but so I've seen you after having this bacterial pneumonia recently, which was freaking awful. But antibiotics, they should be doing probiotics and other gut healing stuff throughout or afterwards, because I know that absolutely messed with my gut.
So
brain fog came back.
One course of antibiotics, if corrected and looked after, takes 12 months to heal the gut after one course.
Oh my God.
We've got this now, what they call, I only heard it on the weekend, walking pneumonia. I thought, what's walking pneumonia? And basically,
I read about that. What is that?
Basically, you got pneumonia, but you're not in bed. Like, it's not like you're absolutely flat out like the old traditional pneumonia was years ago, where you actually couldn't get out of bed for 2 or 3 weeks. So you've got pneumonia and it's in your lungs, but it's not knocking you off your feet, basically.
Sure.
So you can actually get up and walk around and then think you can keep doing everything and wonder why it takes 3 or 4 weeks to heal because you're not actually resting. So antibiotics, we need them. There's a need for them. Okay, they're not the best friend that we need, but, if you've got a bacterial infection or something critical, definitely need them. So you can take a probiotic while you're on an antibiotic, but you need to take it 2 hours away from the antibiotic because you've got one that's killing everything off, and a probiotic which comes in and starts feeding all the flora and fauna in your gut. But then once you've done that, then you need to do, some gut repair and get the good guys up because it's going to knock everything off. The antibiotic isn't just going to kill the bacteria that's causing your pneumonia. It's going to kill everything off in your body. It doesn't just go, you beauty, I'm just going in to get, the bacteria in your lungs. It's going to go, look at that, what else I've got to feed on. And then the good guys in your gut diminish. And then you go, okay, there's candida. How many women get thrush? So there's your candida. What does candida do? Foggy brain, bam, instant. So, most women find after they've been on a antibiotic, and they might not even get thrush, down vaginally, but it's systemic in the stomach and in the body. So if you're then getting tinea or you're getting, if it's a man or if you're getting jock itch or whatever, or you got a thick white tongue, there's your candida. If you're craving, you're going, oh my God, I just want carbs. And then if you're eating and you want some chocolate and blah, 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 those little bugs are going, beep, beep, I want some sugar.
Jeez, yeah, that's not fun. Yeah. So the L-glutamine, that's good for that too, because I think I actually went on prescribed with you was amazing. And I didn't realize I could do it 3 times a day.
Oh, smash it in, especially when you've been on antibiotics. Yeah.
After about 3 days, I was like, brain fog's starting to disappear a little
bit. So glutamine, I used to call my spac filler. So spac filler of the bowel, you've heard of leaky gut. So glutamine is such a beautiful healer on the gut wall. It really takes the inflammation out, calms it down, and helps to repair the holes in the wall of the gut.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, absolute game changer for me. So thank you.
No, you're very welcome. That's why I'm here.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing I wanted to touch on was obviously women's health, but I think, like you say, when we get to this phase of after having kids, we talked about this before we started, but into our late 30s, things are changing in our body. Women 40s are starting going to early like perimenopause. I think I'd just like to talk a little bit about that, women and the hormones, and there's changes that are happening, because it's not just all of that. It's like what we discussed. It's the the
Yeah.
emotional stuff, like,
Yeah.
identity, all these changes, and
Yeah.
then hormones, and
Yeah.
it's just,
And
yeah.
I think, I think there's too much blame on menopause, and that women come to me and I go, oh my God, I think I'm going through menopause. They're 40. You go, you're not. You can't be.
You're stressed.
I mean, very rarely, and in some cases, yes, it can happen. But generally, it's, why are your hormones giving you so much grief?
Mm-hmm.
And generally, it's usually to do with the liver, and back to the liver and the gut. So the liver's not metabolizing that estrogen. It's not getting it out of the body. It's not calming it down. So we've got estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone doesn't get talked about enough. Estrogen is the hormone that drives you. It's inflammatory. It's on fire. It gives you that psycho brain before your periods where you want to kill everyone. It's that, the sore breast, the endometriosis, the PCOS, the heavy periods, all comes back to the estrogen dominance. Why are we seeing that? PBAs, plastics, glyphosate, chemicals, and the liver in the sulfation pathway not being able to metabolize that estrogen. Where does that come back to as well? Back to the good old gut. What's going on in the gut? And then we have Mr. Progesterone. I shouldn't call it Mr. because males wouldn't even know.
The happy hormone.
So progesterone's calming. It turns on the parasympathetic nervous system. It's the one that helps you sleep. It's the one that makes you feel sexy. It's the one that gives you a libido that none of us have anyway. So, there's another topic. So progesterone on most people I test, not that I'm big on testing hormones, is always, always low. And so we don't have enough. So we're seeing miscarriages, infertility. Why? Because progesterone is needed for the embryo to attach to the uterine wall and stay there. Yeah. Then we're seeing all the, the emotional and mental stuff. It's because we don't have enough progesterone. We don't have enough to calm that brain down. So that's when I come in and start, I've just been treating this young lady, 34, have been on the pill for 20, 30 years, have somehow managed to have one baby, wants another one, but's gone back to work, trying to run a home. I can't get pregnant. She's having painful, heavy periods. So I started working on just some beautiful, herbs, chaste tree, vitex, all that sort of stuff, and then giving her Neurocalm, calm the brain, looking at her diet, looking at what she's doing. She's training like a crazy woman. I'm like, well, so let's just calm everything down. Came back to me 2 months later and goes, oh my God, my periods are so much better. Not pregnant yet. We're getting her husband tested because I think the issue might be with him, which it mostly is sometimes, but the husbands don't get tested. So, so that's to your hormones. I don't test hormones a lot because what's on day 13 isn't what's on day 21, which is in on day 7 and blah, blah, blah. Your symptoms hormonally give me the picture. Absolutely. 100%. If you can take a good history and ask the right questions and know what's going on in that cycle, there is your answer. Okay. Obviously, if someone's 6, 12 months down the track and not falling pregnant, then we might go and, have a look, or PCOS will go and do some prolactin or testing or whatever it is. But even all my friends, who, like I was 55 till I actually stopped having my periods. I remember going to the doctor at 54 and for going, for God's sake. But it was a good sign. It showed how healthy I was. It showed, we want to get into our 50s having our periods because it's cardioprotective. It protects the bones. You don't start growing hair on your face, and you don't start your skin going crazy. Like, we want to have those periods. So
this is a good thing, people. Let's embrace it. Like, we're women. Let's we create life. Damn.
Yes, yeah. And so all these women that are pinning everything on menopause. I go, well, hang on, what else is going on? You keep just blaming menopause or perimenopausal. And again, I think women at 47, 48 have another big emotional meltdown. And I think I call it the emotional menopause, where you just go, what do I done with my life? They feel overwhelmed. Their resilience isn't there. Life's really stressful. Kids are moving out of home. Their marriages are in front of their face. Like, there's so much change going on.
So much.
So the hormones, yes, they do play a big part, but why are those hormones out of whack? You always go back to the why. What is driving? Are you drinking too much coffee? Are you drinking too much alcohol? Are you exercising like a crazy person? Are you eating too much animal and so it's not just the hormones, it's the whole gamut of what's going on in your lifestyle that we come back to over and over. And well, that's what I do anyway. And then I would go and test. I would rather go and test someone's gut health before I tested their hormones.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And it's like you say, looking at that entire picture, like, what's happening? Are you like completely stressed out? Like, what are you eating? What's your gut look like? And yeah, you're absolutely right. It all stems from that, I feel.
I mean, how many women get up in the morning and self-medicate, a couple of cups of coffee, get you going, get your dopamine in, off you go, and then they come home and they want to calm their brain down, get that GABA going, so they have a couple of glasses of wine and they wake up at 2 a.m. because their liver's going, I'm so overstimulated, and then they get up and do it again. So, and it's okay to do that if you want to do that, but you need to support the body because coffee and estrogen go down the same pathway to being metabolized. So some people, you can just cut out coffee and go, wow, there's my period. I didn't even know it was coming. Like just little things like that. So, yeah.
Holy shit. And it's going to be just so different for each person, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And on your DNA, you can go and look at your CYP1B1 and that will tell you whether you metabolize coffee or not. And then if you've got a mutation in CYP1B1, you know you're going to have estrogen issues and your comp gene as well. So, and the comp gene is very related to it's either B6 or zinc, I can't remember. And guess what? We're deficient in zinc. So, and that comp gene is very estrogen based, which usually if there's 2 mutations on that, you know there's a higher risk of breast cancer. So again, you can come back to that genetic testing and go, this is what you could be susceptible to if your lifestyle's not right.
This just blows my mind. That DNA test is like a Bible. Hey, you just keep going back to that.
And that's like I said to you, there's so much information in there. And like I can read it, but it's going to make more sense to you because you go, oh, I do that. That's really good. Oh, I do that. I shouldn't really be doing that. Like, it's like on mine, I can metabolize salt. I shouldn't have any dairy, I don't think. And I definitely shouldn't be drinking wine. But guess what I love? Red wine. So I have to make sure that if I am drinking, I might have some NAC to support my liver. I drink lots of water. So we do all the things to go, yes, it's the one, everything else in my life is amazing, but I do enjoy a glass of wine. So I'm going to make sure I support my body.
So you can support the body. So what if if I'm lactose intolerant, which it says in there that I am, could I take lactose to with it or should I just avoid it?
Something like that, I probably wouldn't. I would totally 100% avoid it. Yeah, that's
a little bit different. I feel way better. Yeah,
it's a little bit different to your coffee one where, coffee's it's more the metabolizing of the coffee, not and what it does to your adrenals more than the coffee itself actually affecting your gut wall, like the lactose or the gluten would if you were celiac or gluten sensitive.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think the coffee thing one's like you metabolize it really fast, like within an hour or something crazy. I don't know what the genes are, but yeah. So there was another thing I wanted to touch on. So when I first came to you, this ADHD thing, I feel like it's just wild out there at the moment, and there's lots of people being diagnosed with it. When I said to you, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, but I'm getting these symptoms and and you were like, I bet you don't have it. It's like, what? Because in my gut, when I seen her, I was like, no, there's maybe, but there's something missed. There's something else. In my gut, I knew that I'm not going to settle for it. And when I seen you and we did this DNA test, there's this whole section on there and it talked about methylation. And you were saying the wheat, it's got folic acid and this, and there was this blocking methylation. I'm like, wait, what? Can you explain that a little bit? Because I feel like people need to hear this.
What I might do, I might touch on it and let's do another talk on that because that's a huge topic and it's huge, really massive where my brain's going, I've got to be careful what I say and
of course,
I've got to really think the language properly and not touching on toes. So I still think, this is me personally, I still think ADHD is being overdiagnosed. Agreed. I want to know, and I tried looking at what is the criteria for a diagnosis. Who is diagnosing you? Is it their perception? Is it actual test you do? Is it just how are we actually diagnosing this ADHD? And when I watch a true ADHD person to someone who goes, I got ADHD, and I go, what? Really? Like, I just go, okay, you know, it's attention deficit. You're sitting here talking to me, asking me questions. How can you be having an attention deficit right now? Do you know what I mean? Like, when you actually look at what the actual name of it, I have a 5-year-old grandson, and I would go, is he on the spectrum? His attention span at 5 is like 2 seconds. Nanny, let's do Play-Doh. And like, yeah, the girls will sit there for an hour. Da, 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 da. 2 seconds in, bam, he's on to the next thing. You know, rides his bike like a maniac. He's eating. He's jumping off roofs and he's bouncing off the walls and blah, blah, blah. I go, whoa, there is an attention deficit because he can't stay on task for more than 5 minutes. And someone said, oh, but he's a boy. And I go, yeah, but I've got a 2-year-old grandson who will sit there and play with Play-Doh for an hour. So I just go, how are we getting diagnosed? Is it a nutrient deficiency? And I know with this little boy, more than likely it is. And that's where we come to methylation. So methylation is how our body, our cells detoxify, and it's very related to B12 and all your B vitamins. And we used to test lots of people for a thing called pyrroles. And pyrroles is low zinc and B6. And a lot of children with pyrroles have very, very similar symptoms to ADHD. So my little granddaughter, when she was 18 months old, would go into a cafe with her hands over her ears. The noise was so intense, she couldn't stand it. She cut tags off her clothes. The tags on her clothes were annoying her. She was very tactile, sensory. If you put, when she was little, we put a blanket on the table and put her doll's house on, you had to do that every time. Now, you telling me, are they on the spectrum symptoms? Yes, aren't they? Someone would go, oh, she's on the spectrum. So when we then went, okay, I tested her and I know our family genetics. She's got pyrroles where she's over excreting her zinc and her B6. As soon as we got the zinc and the B6 up levels, all the symptoms went. Zinc symptoms are can't go to sleep, they have nightmares, they eat white fluffy foods. Like, I deal with kids all the time. So they you know, they only want the chips and the tomato sauce and the sandwich and the yogurt and the blueberries and won't eat veggies, blah, 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 blah. They can't go off to sleep. They're having nightmares. They have emotional meltdowns. Give them zinc, different kid. So, when we go into the ADHD debate, yes, there are some children you would go clinically 100%, but this grey area, bet your bottom dollar, it's nutrient deficiencies. I've had a mum I've just worked with. We did a hair test. Her little boy was not speaking. He's 3 years of age. Non-communicative. I can't even say the word. Non-communicating. Blah blah blah. Anyway, heap a range of symptoms, gut issues. Did a hair test 4 weeks later, and on zinc, kids talking, engaging. Different. The parents. We did a consult last week, crying their eyes out, going, "We have our son back." It's
oh my god, I want to cry hearing that. Holy moly!
So where that child was on a road of on the spectrum, we've turned his life around. And so now this week we're going to start actually healing the gut. We just did foods to start with and removed all the foods. It's called IgG testing. So it's an immune response to foods. It's a hair test we do. We removed all the foods that were on that list, and he could only eat off the foods that were okay. 4 weeks, different kid. I must get the mum actually to write all the symptoms that was beforehand and now where he is now, because this is the beautifulness of testing and nutrition. And this is where supplements come in, this sort of, area as well. So that would be the same as someone like yourself. I'd go, you've got gut issues. You've showed me you had an antibiotic, you've got brain fog.
Yep.
Is that ADHD or is that the antibiotics have screwed my gut and now I can't think straight? So let's fix your gut up, get the right nutrients in, and you go, oh, hello, well, I'm back.
Yeah, it's like a fog was lifted. It's just insane, isn't it? Like food and this stuff. It's just,
like I said, I could talk for hours, but it's just, and this is where I get really sad. I had a mum come in, it's a few years ago now, and sadly I couldn't get her on board to keep giving the child the zinc. He was on Ritalin in the day, huge doses, and Catapress at night, a medical drug to make him go. He was 9 years of age. I'm just like, I was gobsmacked. Who is prescribing this stuff for this kid? So I said to the mum, Well, if he can't go to sleep at night, is he getting too much Ritalin? Like, why
Yeah,
don't we?
because that stuff will keep, it's a stimulant. It'll keep you awake.
100%. So we started getting zinc into him. Different kid. He was picky eater, only eating the white fluffy foods. So therefore, if they're only eating white fluffy foods, they're missing out on a magnitude of nutrients, right? Of your vitamins and minerals. Got him eating well, da 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 da. Then he didn't like the taste of it. Like then there was the battle with the supplements, and I'm not putting her down, but the battle was too big, and she just gave in and put him back on the drugs. So, but the change in that child was amazing, and this is what I see over and over and over again, and in adults, same thing with adults. So yeah. So that's the ADHD question where I go a little bit like,
you got to be careful. Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to have an opinion, but that's all going to come from what they're trained in, what they know, what they're going to share and what they've seen, and then there's your perspective from what you've studied and how you can help. And
so much of all the programs or the webinars that I go on, like I'm still every week courses, learning, and the big focus is the microbiome. I hate that word. It's been going around for 10 years and I hate it, but now I'm like, come on, Jo, you've got to get onto this microbiome. And I'm like, microbiome for menopause, microbiome for this, microbiome for that. But what they're doing now, which is really great, is now looking at, and then I go, oh, it twitches me on, and they go, yes, your microbiome's out, but Akkermansia, which is a bacteria, a species in your gut, correct me if I'm wrong, if that's not high enough, you can't make so many things in your body. So then I've gone back to all my testing, gone, oh, that's really low, that makes sense. So what they've done now, instead of just going, here's all your bugs and whatever, they're actually now looking at the specific species and going, that does that balances sugars, that does that. So I'm at the moment putting together a menopausal program to look at the microbiome. So those women that can't lose weight, all the symptoms that are going on, we go, it comes back to the gut. We sound like a boring or naturopath. Back to the gut.
But I think that's incredible what you're doing, because I did a gut microbiome with a naturopath here. She's amazing as well, maybe a year or so ago. But she said the same thing. She's like, the more we study these species, like this one's linked to like heart disease and this one can do that and da 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 da. And she's like, just I was just like, it blew my mind. She goes, it's quite a diverse bacteria you've got, which is good, but let's just add that and that. Like, and pretty much just a couple of things you've also recommended, just one of the same ones. I was like, what? This is just blowing my mind.
Yeah. Whereas years ago when we studied the microbiome, it was just basically like all these species of this is high and that's it, and here's a protocol. And I was like, and it cost hundreds of dollars to do the test. And I'm like, well, why don't I just give everyone the protocol? Why bother testing? But now they've actually got it more targeted, and it's just beginning. I'm just in the middle of a, 6-series course. That's me. Sitting up at night instead of watching TV, watching about the microbiome and health and how it really affects. And that's where your ADHD is coming from. Because why? What are the kids eating? McDonald's, junk, Coke, soft drinks. How are they supposed to have a healthy gut flora? And then and then and then they're eating crap all the time, so anyway, that's another subject for another time. Anyway, I didn't really answer your methylation thing, but definitely there's methylation stuff going on there, but we could do another full talk on that, and I'd have definitely more
that'd be awesome
notes in front of me then to to explain it more in layman's terms. But it is to do with your folic acid, which is synthetic, which they put in cereals and breads and blah blah, and it clogs up that pathway. That pathway can't work. So we see that pathway makes you serotonin and dopamine. So what do we see? Anxiety and depression. It affects the making of glutathione, which is your major detoxifying enzyme. Then we come back to the hormones, back down. I'm looking at the big whole pathway. The pathway is massive, and people get too hooked up on just MTHFR. There's MTR, there's MTRR, there's comp gene and BHMT. There's too many parts to that to just go, there it is. You've got to look at the whole pathway, picture. Not just one mutation of one, gene.
Look at the whole picture. And I think your mum was like, well, I'm learning now is what everyone calls the motherfucker gene. I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And like now that I know that when I'm not having that, I feel like things are I'm better. Like
and 50% of the population have the motherfucker gene, and there's 2 mutations. There's an A and a C, so it depends on which one you've got. and then which one you treat and how you treat it, and it goes on and on and on. So,
all right. And you're not going to learn half this stuff by sitting with GPs have their place, but for 10 minutes, you're not.
oh, and what's he going to say? The mother who gene? What are you talking about? You're talking,
Yeah,
blah, blah,
no
blah.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And they used to have it that if one member of your family tested positive for that, the rest of the family can get tested for free through Medicare to see if they've got that gene. But if you're going to test your genes, spend what was it, $250 or something? I can't remember what you paid.
$280, yeah.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's so cheap. Yeah. It used to be $500, $600. It's certainly come down. And then you look at the whole thing, and then you get someone like myself to go through it and go, and highlight what we really need to work on.
Yeah, and then you're not poking around in the dark. You've got all the details there. You've got all the different foods that are really going to benefit your body, supplements like working with you, what's going to work. And if it's just in my own experience, I'd recommend everyone do that, because you're not going to be spending all this other money poking around in the dark, trying all these different supplements. Like, no, let's just individualize this plan, spend a bit of money, take the time to, have a few consults and see how you go. And then
you've got targeted, evidence-based, research-based treatment that is personalized for you. You're not spending a bomb on supplements or going and eating broccoli or whatever it is, the vegetable that your body goes, that actually isn't great for your body. You should be doing this lot of vegetables or these fruits or whatever. So, or your celiac or your lactose or whatever it is. It will actually tell you in that test how you should live your lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved that.
Every level.
Yes, absolutely. And starting with the food, let's start there and then build up. I love 100%. That. Highly recommend it. I'd love to I'll put your details in the show notes as well, so where people can reach you. I'll get that off you. And because you're on the East Coast. Whereabouts?
Yep. We're about an hour and a half north of Sydney.
North of Sydney. Okay.
Yep.
So perfect. Because Jo does online consults and stuff as well. So
certainly do.
Highly recommend.
Anywhere, anytime. If we get the time right. Anytime.
Yeah,
you and I.
I know. What time is it? Shit, we're jumping on now.
All right. Well, I've got to round it up in a minute. My girlfriend's just
yes.
So,
okay. Very quickly.
I'll go see it. Yep.
Just a very few quick fire questions, and then we'll get going.
Sure.
Just is there one last thing you would like to say to our audience? What would you say?
Your health is your number one asset, and I tell you what, when you've had it tested, as in the universe tests you and you've been really, really sick, you realize how important your health is. And what you're doing right now means how you're going to be in 10, 20, 30, 40 years' time, how your health's going to be. So what you're doing right now, putting it in your mouth, putting it on your skin, putting it in your body, is imperative to your well-being. And health is your best asset, not money, not fancy cars and jewelry and clothes and that, your health. Because when it goes, you've got nothing.
That's absolutely right. That's well said. Absolutely. And if there's anything you could change, what would it be?
I was 20 years younger and know what I know now. No. Nothing, really. As in my lifestyle or me, or what do you mean?
It could be anything. People say they might say the school system, or they might say,
oh God.
It could be anything. It could be.
I would love to see GPs or doctors take the blinkers off and just realize what the public's asking for, and get your egos out of it. My youngest granddaughter the other week, she was staying with me, and I rang Ali, and she's 3, going to the toilet. I said to her, I think she's got a urinary tract infection. Just going to the toilet every few minutes, wet in the bed, blah, blah, blah. So I went and got a specimen jar, went and met the doctor. The doctor was furious that who were we to think that we knew what was wrong with her? Not, hey, great, you've come in with a specimen of urine that will stop the process being as long as it is, because she's on placement, I'm minding the kids, well, we can't, and he got dirty with us because we thought we knew better. What the hell? So there you go. So get the blinkers off, get your egos down, and let's all work together for the good of the person.
Exactly. Work together. Well, let's empower each other. Jeez.
Yep. I know.
Yep, love that. Couple more. What's one thing that lights you up?
My family, my kids, my grandkids, when they walk in the door and go, Nanny, pure, unconditional love coming at you.
In a beautiful way.
The ocean, sunshine, my husband, good food. Yeah, good company. There you go. I could rave
Love
on
it.
for hours.
Um, what's one thing you love about yourself?
How far I've come, and that I've actually, call me a terrier or whatever, but I'm tenacious and I will keep digging for you. I will dig for the why. I've always been like that with my clients, and that's why they keep coming back, because until I can get you improved, get the answers, I will keep digging until I do.
I can see that and I feel that and I
Yeah.
appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
And one last one, what are you most grateful for?
Oh, now you got me teary. That I that I have been that I have beautiful angels around me and guides, and my life is amazing now. For many, many years, it was a struggle, hard in so many ways, but that I now have the most amazing life that you could ever want for. And that came from hard work as well. It was nothing's been given to me, but beautiful relationship with my husband. I have amazing family and I have good health. And yeah, I think, we're so lucky today with the opportunities and the knowledge that's out there. So I'm grateful for being me. There you go. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? I wouldn't have said that 20 years ago.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you.
You're a warrior, and I really appreciate what you do because,
thank
you're an
you.
incredible
And
human. I just want to clone you.
You can. Thank you for your time. Let me know how this goes or where you put it or whatever, because it would be good for me to use some of it for because I want to get the word out, but I get so tired and bogged down with other stuff, and I need to reach people. So,
absolutely, and that's a big part of this podcast is letting people heard and know that there's other help out there, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Amazing, yeah, you're amazing what you do. Thank you for finding me.
Thank you.
All right, see you, beautiful girl. We'll talk soon.
We will. Thanks, Jo.
All right,
appreciate
see you, darling. See ya. Bye. Bye.